What's up, boxing fans? This is TBE Boxing, back at you again. Today's topic, Ldbc Snitch and drama queen Fannon Boxing shed tears live in desperate attempt to help Spence duck Crawford fight. Let's chop it up and see what it's all about.
Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? That life for riches, huh? That life for riches, huh? Pretty bitch, show me titties, huh? And I got the glaze, you run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it.
Okay, boxing fans, let's talk some boxing. We're gonna chop it up today. So, as you know, and do my boxing commentary, I have to browse a lot of these YouTube channels to see, what they're talking about, and to basically counter some of the false narrative that some of these guys, spin daily. Okay, and nobody is more, nobody is more prolific at spinning false narratives and telling lies on YouTube than the snitch at Fannon Boxing, the Ldbc Snitch over there at Fannon Boxing. So today I happened to cruise by his channel, and the man was on YouTube live shedding tears, literally shedding tears. Okay, in his attempt basically to stop the fight between Spence and Crawford from happening. He doesn't want that fight to happen. Basically, that's what it comes down to. Okay, so the man was actually, I've never seen such a drama queen in my life. Something is really wrong with this guy, Fannon. I think this guy really have some serious mental issues. Okay, you can go and watch the video. I encourage people to go to his channel and watch that video. Okay, that's the video he put out today, a live video. Go check it out, okay, for yourself and see what I'm talking about. Okay, the man literally was shedding tears, and while at the same time making excuse after excuse as to why Errol Spence should not fight Bud Crawford. This is what it's come to in boxing. Okay, it is beyond ridiculous, people. Okay, this is, these guys are turning boxing into a joke. Okay, a laughing stock. Okay, this is what they're turning boxing into with these antics that they're doing on YouTube. It was incredible to watch. And just to let you know, what really started this whole thing was the fact that when Errol Spence, as a lot of you might know if you saw my previous videos, Errol Spence, as we all know, has been ducking Crawford for the past 3 years. So anyway, everywhere he goes, basically, people ask him about Crawford. So if you guys remember, when Errol Spence fought Danny Garcia, Terrence Crawford came to the fight. Okay, and Errol Spence basically said he doesn't know why Crawford is coming to his fight, because he probably would never go to any of Crawford's fights. Okay, and so that's what he said about. Why would you say something like that? Obviously, Crawford is coming to your fight because he wants to fight you. Okay, that's the fight that people have been calling for the past 2 years to 3 years now. Everybody wants to see the fight. It's the biggest fight in boxing, but for some reason, Errol Spence doesn't want that fight, and he's been saying that in so many different ways for the past 3 years, making excuse after excuse after excuse. But anyway, he basically said he doesn't know why Crawford was coming to his fight. Okay, that was at the post-fight conference after the Danny Garcia fight. So fast forward to this week, we see Canelo Alvarez defeat Callum Smith in a fight, you know, and guess who showed up at the fight? Errol Spence. Okay, and naturally while he was at the fight, one of the reporters or interviewers, Chris Manning, you know, naturally asked him, well, hey, Errol, you know, can we just do away with all the, you know, the talk about our people, and can we just get the fight with Terrence Crawford? You know, and Errol Spence said, maybe it could happen, it might happen, you know, if Errol Spence will take 60-40. Bro, if Errol Spence will take 60-40 and or 70-30 or whatever we decide to give him, maybe the fight might happen. Okay, basically that's what he said. And then he said, you know, he can fight, he could move up and fight Canelo Alvarez. And then he laughed. Okay, as a matter of fact, let me play the video for you. I got a clip of it right here. Take a look at it. This is what Errol Spence said. And then I'm going to play another clip, you know, because Canelo was asked, you know, during his post-fight conference, and we, you know, that, you know, would he be interested in fighting Errol Spence? And he basically dismissed the whole idea and said, no, you know, realistically, he got bigger fish to fry at 168 pounds because he wants to unify up there. So let me play the first clip with Errol Spence, and you can, you know, we can go from there.
Now, I follow you on social media, like a lot of people do, and there was a graphic that was thrown up recently of all the top welterweights, and you commented like, look, what are we doing here? I beat several of the guys on this graphic. Can we be done with everybody else but Terrence Crawford? Can we just do Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford?
I mean, that could happen. We got to see how it goes. But, you know, like I said, I can move up to 160 and fight Canelo Alvarez.
Congratulations. Back here, way back, Jeff Zimmerman, Fight News. Did you see Errol Spence tonight at the fight? And what about fighting him back at Cowboy Stadium in Dallas next year?
Sí, lo vi. La verdad que, pues obviamente, agradecido de que estén aquí. Pues ahorita tenemos otras metas, ¿no? Tenemos otras metas a corto plazo, que es ganar los títulos en las 168 libras, y pues más adelante veremos.
Yes, I did saw him. I'm very grateful that he was here, but reality is that we have other goals right now. We have the goals of the 168-pound titles.
Okay, so there it is. So as you can see, you know, now Errol Spence, despite what these guys are saying on, you know, YouTube, you know, people like Fannon Boxing and Blue Blood Sports and the rest of them, Errol Spence never called out Canelo. Okay, basically what Errol Spence is doing, he's using Canelo's name to cloud chase in an attempt to avoid people talking about him fighting Terrence Crawford, because you saw the DAZN guy asked him about Terrence Crawford, okay? And so immediately after the guy asked him about Terrence Crawford, he starts talking about Canelo Alvarez and saying that, oh, he can move up and fight Canelo Alvarez. He never called out Canelo Alvarez. He just said, I can move up and fight Canelo Alvarez. But, you know, this is what he said. And you saw the video clip, okay? So these guys on YouTube, you know, these LDBC fanboys are out there trying to say that Errol Spence is calling out Canelo Alvarez, and Canelo Alvarez is ducking him. I mean, have you ever heard anything so ridiculous in your whole life? Now, here it is, Errol Spence is unwilling to fight somebody in his own weight division, Terrence Crawford, okay? But you trying to tell me he's going to move up to 160 and fight Canelo Alvarez? I mean, it's the whole idea is ridiculous, okay? But this is the narrative that these guys are out there pushing, okay? So as you saw in the clip, Spence never called out Canelo. He's basically just trying to use Canelo's name anytime people ask him about Terrence Crawford. And you saw it for yourself. You saw the whole thing. You saw him in action. You saw him, you know, do the cloud chase in action, okay? As a matter of fact, you know, let's play the clip again so we can definitely see what I'm talking about, okay? Check this out.
Now, I follow you on social media, like a lot of people do, and there was a graphic that was thrown up recently of all the top welterweights, and you commented like, look, what are we doing here? I beat several of the guys on this graphic. Can we be done with everybody else but Terrence Crawford? Can we just do Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford?
I mean, that could happen. We got to see how it go. But, you know, like I said, I can move up to 160 and fight CARNE-LO ALVAREZ.
See, there it is. So as you can see, they ask him about Terrence Crawford. He starts talking about CARNE-LO ALVAREZ. Okay? So, I mean, even a blind man can see what's going on. Okay? So now, if you was to watch the complete video, you should go and watch that video, by the way. If you see the complete video, as they went on further, Spence basically said that Terrence Crawford would have to take 60-40, 70-30, or whatever they decide to give Terrence Crawford, okay? So after hearing this, Terrence Crawford basically said, you know, that Errol Spence must have had a screw knocked loose in the accident that he had. You know, as you know, Errol Spence had an accident where he was allegedly drinking and driving, and he crashed his Ferrari or his Porsche or whatever kind of car that was that he was driving. Okay, he crashed it from, you know, he was intoxicated, allegedly. Okay, I mean, I think that's what the police report said. I could, you know, you can check it out for yourself. But anyway, I might be wrong about that, but I don't think so. I believe he was intoxicated. So this is what Crawford said, that he must have knocked the screw loose or something similar to that. I'm paraphrasing. This is what Fannon, you know, that snitch on Fannon Boxing was using at his channel to say that the fight should not happen because Terrence Crawford said that. I mean, and then he was actually literally crying on, you know, on his channel, and went on an hour-and-a-half rant about why the fight shouldn't happen because Terrence Crawford said that. So these are the lengths that these guys are going to in their attempt to protect Errol Spence from Terrence Crawford. I mean, it's incredible when you think about it. I mean, this is unprecedented in the history of boxing. We have never seen anything like this, okay? But this is the so-called quote-unquote new media, okay? These guys, you know, pushing these ridiculous narratives, okay? So like I said, the man literally cried like a drama queen, you know, whining and whining about why the fight should never happen, this, that, and the other, and he went into all kind. I mean, I really encourage people to go and watch that video, okay? I mean, it's an incredible thing to see, okay? And I've never seen anything like it myself. So, I mean, and then, you know, when you look at the video and you look at the comments coming in, I mean, the only people that's literally dumber than Fannon is the people that, you know, support him. You know, these decaf that listen to his channel. I don't know how somebody can sit there and listen to this guy for an hour and a half. I mean, it's mind-numbing just listening to him for 10 minutes, okay? The stupidity is mind-numbing. I mean, the guy is ridiculous, okay? Somebody listening, I mean, if you listen to this guy, can you imagine listening to this guy for an hour and a half every day on his live stream? Can you imagine that? I mean, if you was to do that, it probably lead to mental illness. That's the only thing I can tell you, okay? Because me just listening to him for the time that I listened to him was an ordeal, okay? It was an incredibly difficult thing to do because the guy stupidity is mind-numbing, okay? This is what I can tell you. So I don't know how people can listen to that. But anyway, so he went on and on, you know. I mean, the hate that this guy had for Terrence Crawford, I don't know what to tell you. You have to see it to believe it, okay? And again, you know, I'm saying to myself, well, why? I mean, what's the deal with this guy? Why going on like this. And the only thing I can tell you, I can think of, he's getting paid to do this, because you can't be doing this for free. Okay, no one would do something like that for free, I don't think. Okay, he must be getting paid some kind of way. That's his job. They put him out there to do that, and so he's doing it. Okay, and as you can see, he also on his channel is always talking about Deontay Wilder, and that's his two pet projects, Deontay Wilder and now Spence. Lately he's been talking about Spence. Every video is about that. So here, as you can see, I said something about Deontay Wilder on my channel and Shelly Finkel, and he filed a copyright takedown notice, against my channel. It's right there. You can see it right there in the graphic, okay? The Snitch, Fannon Boxing, snitched me out to YouTube, for making a comment. Naturally, I was criticizing some of the nonsense that he was spewing on his channel, so I guess he didn't like that, or somebody, whoever is behind him told him to file the copyright, because I doubt, if he has ever filed a copyright takedown notice against anyone else, but he's filing against TBE Boxing. So y'all people, you need to tune into TBE Boxing to find out, what the fuss is all about. Go and check out the video, about the copyright takedown notice. It seems like Fannon Boxing is watching my channel, profusely. I guess he probably watched every video I've put out, practically, probably. Okay, so I appreciate his, the fact that he's watching my channel that much. Okay, keep it up, Fannon. You're helping me out with the views. So, as we can see, these guys are taking their lead from Errol Spence. It looked like, again, Errol Spence does not want to fight with Crawford under any circumstances, and he's been doing everything in his power, in a desperate attempt to take attention off of that fight. Like you saw with your own eyes, how he shifted the conversation to Canelo Alvarez, and then we saw that Canelo Alvarez basically dismissed the whole idea. He's not even interested in fighting Errol Spence, because he got bigger fish to fry at 168 pounds. Okay, so why would he want to come down to 160 to fight Errol Spence, especially when Errol Spence is not even calling him out? He's just out there mentioning Canelo's name every time people ask him about Crawford. So the whole thing is making Spence look ridiculous at this point, and I hate to see that myself. I hate to see a guy basically tarnish his image, by clout chasing, Canelo. He doesn't really need to do something like that. It's ridiculous. Okay, so I don't know why he's going to these lengths to the point where he's making himself look, and then getting dismissed by Canelo out of hand like that. Make Canelo look like a boss and he looked like a peon. Okay, by using Canelo's name. It doesn't make much sense. So, as we can see, the boogeyman at 147 pound, Terrence Crawford, have a lot of people, running for the hills, at the mention of his name. Okay, and then none of these guys really want to fight him. Now, the only person I hear that's talking about fighting him actually at 147 is Sean Porter. And as we know, if you didn't know, Sean Porter is supposed to be the mandatory for Terrence Crawford at this point in time, and he's also the mandatory for Errol Spence. So previously, Porter was talking about, he's been talking about for like 6 months now, talking about, fighting Terrence Crawford. But at the end of the day, it's just talk, because if he was to activate the mandatory, Terrence Crawford would have to fight him or be stripped of the title. But Porter's not activating the mandatory. He's just talking about fighting Crawford, and this is a fight that a lot of these Spence fanboys and LDBC fanboys want to see, because as you know, maybe you might not know, Sean Porter is one of the people that they're trying to push in front of Crawford to block the fight with Errol Spence. They keep pushing people in front of Crawford. Oh, you got to fight this guy. You need to fight this guy before he can fight Spence. You got to fight this guy before he can fight Spence. So Okay, so now Porter is Crawford's mandatory, and so the ball is in Porter's court. Okay, all he has to do is activate the mandatory, and the fight is on. But he hasn't done that. So I mean, I don't know what the holdup is. You know, I wouldn't mind seeing that fight either. So why isn't Porter activating the mandatory? You know, nobody's talking about that. But again, you know, I'm gonna give you a hint why he might not be in a rush to activate that mandatory, because right now he's talking about, you know, he is backtracking now. He's talking about, you know, instead fighting the rematch with Errol Spence. You know, now the hint I'm going to give you is this: Sean Porter has been consistently saying on more than one occasion that Terrence Crawford will beat Errol Spence. He has also said that Terrence Crawford will beat Jermell Charlo. Okay, so do you think that maybe that's why he's not in a hurry to activate the mandatory against Crawford? Well, I would think so. I mean, you know, if you think that Crawford can beat Errol Spence and he can beat Jermell Charlo, I don't see you being in a hurry to fight him. Okay, and you know, the facts, his actions prove that out. Okay, because if he can beat Terrence Crawford, I mean, if Terrence Crawford can beat Errol Spence according to Sean Porter, and Sean Porter had a tough fight, it was a close fight, but it was a tough one, and where he lost to Errol Spence, then what makes you think that you can beat Crawford? And you say Crawford can beat Spence, and you said Crawford has more tools in the toolbox in a fight against Spence, and that he would beat Spence. So this is why I think that Porter he's not really in a rush to activate this mandatory. And so you still have people out there talking about, you know, but you know, again, these guys are mostly decaf. They're out there talking about how Crawford is ducking Porter. He's not ducking Porter. Porter is mandatory. All Porter got to do is push the button, and the fight is on. And Terrence Crawford has already came out and said that if Porter activates the mandatory, he will stop Porter. Okay. So, and as a matter of fact, he went even further. He said he dares Porter to activate the mandatory. He dares him. He's daring Porter to activate the mandatory. And as we can see, Porter hasn't done that yet. Okay. And I doubt if he ever will. Okay. Why would he want to fight Crawford that he knows that Crawford can beat Spence, and he got a chance at an easier fight against Spence? He almost beat Spence in the first fight. So why wouldn't he go ahead and activate his mandatory against Spence and to fight Spence again? That's probably what's going to happen. As a matter of fact, that's what I'm hearing, that he's going to fight Spence again. That's his next fight. So, you know, the boogeyman, Terrence Crawford, have them running, okay? And whether it's Porter, Spence, Danny Garcia, any other so-called top welterweight, okay? And so it is what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I don't really have nothing against Spence, but you know, a lot of people think might say I'm a Spence hater, this, that, the other, but you know, that's not a fact. I just don't like the fact that Spence, you know, has been ducking Crawford for 3 years and making up with excuses, okay? And that's all it is, okay? And if you go and look at my video in the post-fight clip about Spence and Danny Garcia, I have no hate for Spence, but I'm going to call a spade a spade. I'm going to tell it like it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. If Crawford was ducking Spence, I'd be on Crawford and saying that Crawford is ducking Spence, okay? I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I mean, I like Sean Porter as well, but hey, Sean, if you claim you want to fight Crawford, then activate the mandatory, okay? Don't, you know, talk about you want to fight Crawford and then, you know, keep talking about it and keep talking, but you're not activating the mandatory. Either put up or shut up, okay? That's simple as that, okay? So, again, I'm not against Spence. You know, I make videos about him, you know, ducking Crawford because that's what he's doing. And he's been doing it for 3 years now, okay? And people are tired of it, okay? People are tired of all the excuses, the outside the street, this, that, and what outside the street are these guys talking about? I mean, Errol Spence came out and said that he's his own promoter, Man Down Promotions. So the only person standing in the way of making the fight between him and Crawford is Man Down Promotion, which is Errol Spence, okay? That's Errol Spence company. So there's no other side of the street. You know what I mean? He could make the fight tomorrow if he wanted to, but he doesn't want to make that fight. Had nothing to do with this talk about, you know, Spence having Crawford having to come to PBC. Crawford don't have to come to PBC for the fight to happen. Errol Spence has said that nobody controls him. He does what he want to do. He says Al Heyman is just his advisor. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe Al Heyman is advising him not to take the fight with Spence. I mean, with Crawford. Okay, I don't know, but I doubt that. I think that Errol Spence and his team, you know, his trainer Derek James, okay, Coach James, those are the guys that are probably advising him. Say, hey man, stay the hell away from Crawford. He's no joke. And you know, at the same time, you know, they go around trying to demean and belittle Crawford's, you know, accomplishments in the boxing game. 3-time, 3-division champion, undisputed 140 pounds. And, you know, Spence, you know, hasn't really accomplished much in boxing, fighting once a year for the past 4 years. Okay. The only top guy he's actually fought is Sean Porter, who have already lost twice before he fought him. So Sean Porter was beaten by Kell Brook, okay. You know, and you know, so he already had 2 losses on his record when Spence fought him. When Kell Brook fought him, he was undefeated. Okay, Kell Brook came from England, came over here in Porter's backyard, took the title and went back to England with it. Okay, and we just recently saw that Crawford stopped Kell Brook in 4 rounds. Okay, so I mean, you know, it is what it is. So, you know, all this talk, you know, and this fanboyism that these guys are carrying on with, you know, in the LDBC is making boxing into a laughing stock, okay, and making Errol Spence look, you know, like the laughing stock of boxing, and you know, out there clout chasing Canelo. Every time somebody asks him about fighting Terrence Crawford, he's talking about he could move up and fight Canelo. And we saw what Canelo did to him, you know, by just dismissing him, you know, by saying that he got, you know, he's realistically he got better things to do at 168 pounds. So I mean, it doesn't look good for Errol Spence at this point. I mean, at the end of the day, the fight between him and Crawford is the biggest fight in boxing. Okay, why would you be trying to throw that fight under the bus? Why would you keep belittling the fight? You know, if you want to make the fight, why are you trying to make it seem like Crawford hasn't done anything? How is that making the fight more valuable? Okay, by demeaning and trying to belittle Crawford and talking about 70-30 and whatever we give him. I mean, the only reason that you can do something like that is because you don't want to fight. Okay, and this is what it is. That's what it comes down to. Okay, Errol Spence does not want to fight with Terrence Crawford. People can say whatever they want. Okay, you got snitching, that Ldbc Snitch Fannon Boxing and you know, crying live on YouTube and talking about why the fight should not happen, literally shedding tears. I mean, the guy is really mental. You know what I mean? So he's out there shedding tears and making up all kind of reasons why this fight should not happen. Okay, this is what's going on in boxing today. Okay, and talking about Canelo is ducking Errol Spence when Errol Spence never called out Canelo. Okay, so again, you know, this is what boxing is coming to. It's a disgrace, really. And you know, these guys, you know, social media, you know, has made, you know, the fact that these guys are out there now because of social media, that they can go out there and say whatever they want and run these false narratives and spin, you know, is making boxing into a laughing stock, basically, you know. And then they talk about, you know, they're crying about the fights that they're not getting, okay. And the reason why they're not getting the fights because they're making these fighters, they're giving these fighters license to duck, okay. They're giving Errol Spence a license to duck Terrence Crawford. That's all these guys are doing. And then they wonder why our fighters, you know, are duck. Well, if a fighter see that you're giving another fighter a license to duck, they're gonna want a license to duck too. Okay? I said that's what's going on right now. Okay? Nothing but ducking in you know. I mean, imagine Crawford came from 140 pounds after cleaning out the division. Okay? Moving up to 147 and calling out all the 147-pound champions at the time, and none of them took him on except, you know, the WBO champion that he beat. Okay, well he had to take him on because that's the way the WBO works. Because Crawford was also the WBO champion at 140. So when he comes to 147 and call out the WBO champion, the guy have to fight him. So they had to, you know, that's how he became champion. So none of these guys have fought him up until this point. Okay. I mean, as a matter of fact, Spence told him to go get a belt, and that, you know, at 147, when he originally called out Spence 3 years ago, and that if he was to go and get a belt, then Spence said, "You go get a belt and I'll fight you." He went and got the belt. Spence 3 years later, Spence still ducking him. Okay, and you have, you know, these guys out there making up all kind of excuses why this fight shouldn't happen and why Crawford should get 40%. I mean, how do you expect the number one pound for pound fighter in the world to accept 40% from a guy who has not really done much at 147 pounds, but fight people like Danny, lightweight Mikey Garcia, Sean Porter? I mean, I have a respect for Sean Porter. He's a good fighter, but he had 2 previous losses before he fought Spence. Danny Garcia never did anything at welterweight. Okay, never. Okay, never won an elite fight at welterweight. Every time he stepped up to make a fight, he lost. He lost against Thurman. He lost against Porter. Now he lost against Spence. So these are the guys that Spence are fighting, and they're calling them top welterweights. Okay, I mean, it is what it is, man. Spence is nowhere near to clearing out the 147-pound division, because in order to do that, he's going to have to fight Terrence Crawford. And as you can see, he doesn't want that fight. And it doesn't look like Manny Pacquiao, who has the other belt, you know, is going to fight either Terrence Crawford or Errol Spence. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you know, at this point, Manny Pacquiao should be stripped of his title, because he's not really fighting anybody. Okay, I mean, why is he holding the title hostage? He needs to fight either Spence or Crawford. Okay, and so, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, so this is what's going on in boxing. So I just thought I'd come on and, you know, let you guys know what's going on. You know, that Ldbc, you know, drama queen Fannon Boxing, literally shedding tears live on his YouTube channel at the idea that you know, the Crawford and Spence fight is gonna happen. He's up there talking about the fight shouldn't happen. It should never happen. You know, I mean, literally crying tears on YouTube. I mean, it's incredible, man. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And, you know, hopefully, you know, I mean, I don't know what to say. You guys could go ahead and make comments and talk about that. Okay. But I mean, that's about all I have. I mean, I never thought I'd see this day in boxing, that boxing would come to this. These guys are ruining boxing. I mean, it's a shame. Okay, it's a damn shame. But anyway, for right now, that's all I have. I'm gonna leave it there. This is TBE Boxing. I'm out.